We need an independent elections commission. Democrats have pulled some election shenanigans, but Republicans have elevated it to an art form. And in a rare bipartisan effort, they both made it harder for third parties and independents to get on the ballot. You've probably read about how Trump won because a lot of Democrats didn't vote. But do you remember that the Republican-controlled states purged voter rolls and made it harder for Democrats to vote? Coincidence? I don't think so. Here's what happened. After Obama was elected in 2008, Republicans launched the aptly named Red Map Initiative to elect Republicans in swing state legislatures and governorships in 2010. They did this with an avalanche of dark money after the Supreme Court's 2010 Citizens United decision throwing out campaign spending limits. They then redrew the districts to produce a Republican majority in the House, even though Democrats won a majority of the votes. These Republican-controlled states then engaged in a multi-year massive voter suppression using a variety of tricks. For example, Texas voter ID laws accept a gun license, but not a student ID. Which party has guns and which has students? Polling places were reduced in Democrat areas, producing long lines. Ballot drop boxes were removed in Democratic districts. Voter rolls were purged, ostensibly to remove inactive voters or voters who had moved, which, surprise, were mostly Democrats. The list goes on and on. If this sounds like the referees being on a team's payroll, you're starting to get the picture. The fix was also in at the Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell refused to hold a vote on Obama's nominee for nearly a year, saying it was too close to the election. Somehow managing a straight face, he later rushed the confirmation of Trump's nominee a week before the 2020 election, while the body of deceased Justice Ginsburg was still warm. Thus, 2 of Trump's 3 Supreme Court appointments should have been made by Democrat presidents. The Supreme Court has given the green light to rigging elections. They gutted the Voting Rights Act with the 2023 Shelby decision, allowing states with a history of racial discrimination to enact over 100 laws restricting voting, which again mostly impact Democrats. When Virginia purged voters within 90 days of the 2024 election, which was forbidden by law, the Supreme Court allowed it anyway, overruling the lower courts. The result? Democrat registration in Republican-controlled swing states in 2024 was millions below when Biden ran in 2020. The voter suppression effort continues today for future elections. In a new escalation, since Trump now has a dubious record to defend, he asked Texas and other red states to create more red districts with extreme gerrymandering without a new census. There's no law against that, since it never occurred to anyone that someone would be shameless enough to try that in broad daylight. At the same time, he attacks California for doing the same thing, trying to fight back. As a backup plan, in case the voter suppression didn't decide the election, after 2020, Trump supporters launched a harassment campaign against election workers, trying to get them to resign. An organized effort with the misnomer Election Integrity Network trained and installed his supporters as poll workers and election officials in battleground states. What do all these instances of election abuse have in common? The party in power sets the election rules. Crazy, right? The solution is obvious. Put control of the elections in the hands of an independent elections commission. They can draw district lines, control polling places and drop boxes, manage voter registration, etc. That's what they do in England, Canada, Australia, and other countries. We need an independent referee for our elections, not the incumbents as referees.